Well, hello everyone. By this chance, we would like to perform a one-act drama made by Susan Glaspell, and the title is Trifles. Okay, so here are the list of the member. So my classmates Alnesta, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Alnesta, and here I play as Miss Hill.
Okay, and then the second is Rizky. So Rizky, the time is yours.
My name is Rizky Putra and I play County Torni.
Okay, and the third is Ariefzie. So Ariefzie, the time is yours.
My name is Ariefzie Mohammad. I play as Mrs. Peters.
And as for myself, well, my name is Aldiansyah Arthanan, but you also can call me Aldi. By this change, I have a role to play Lewis Hale, a neighboring farmer. And last, Fikri, the time is yours.
Hello, my name is Mohammad Zulfikar and I play as a sheriff.
Okay, so should we move? Okay, so what is Trifles? So Trifles is a drama made by Susan Glaspell, written in 1960s. Trifles is a short one-act play about an investigation of the murder of a man named John Wright. So as you can see, this guy right there is John Wright. Okay, Trifles opens on the scene of John and Minnie Wright's abandoned farmhouse. The kitchen is in disarray with unwashed dishes, a loaf of uncooked bread, and a dirty towel on the table. Okay, so as that we already mentioned that George Henderson, the county lawyer, played by Rizky Putra Verdana, and Henry Peters, the sheriff, played by Muhammad Zulfikar, and then Lewis Hale is going to be played by myself, Aldiansyah, and Miss Peters by Ariefzie Aulia, and Miss Hale by Alnesta Mahardika. So let's get started. Trifles. Trifles opens on the scene of John Wright, abandoned farmhouse. The kitchen is in disarray of unwashed dishes, a loaf of uncooked bread, and a dirty towel on the table. Other signs of incompleted work. At the rear, the other door opens and the sheriff comes in, followed by the county attorney and Hale. The sheriff and Hale are men in middle lives. The county attorney is a young man. All are much bundled up and go at once to the store. They are followed by the two women, the sheriff's wife first. She is a slight, fiery woman, a thin, nervous face. Miss Hale is larger and would ordinarily be cold, more comfortable looking, but she is disturbed now and looks fearfully about as she enters. The women have come in slowly and stand close together near at the door.
Feels good. Come to the fire, ladies.
I'm not cold.
Now, Mr. Hill, before we move things about, you explain to Mr. Henderson just what you saw when you came here yesterday morning.
By the way, it's nothing new. I think just as you left yesterday.
It's just the same. When it dropped below zero last night, I thought I'd better send Frank out this morning to make a fire for us. No use getting pneumonia with a big case on. But I told him not to touch anything except the stove, and you know, Frank.
Somebody should have been left here yesterday.
Oh, yesterday when I had to send Frank to Morris Center for that man who went crazy, I want you to know I had my hand full yesterday. I knew you could back from Omaha by today, and as long as I went over everything here myself.
Well, Mr. Hale, tell us what happened when you came here yesterday morning.
Harry and I had to start it down with a loaf of potatoes. We came along the road from my place, and as I got here, I said, I'm going to see if I can get John Wright to go in with me on a party telephone. I spoke to Wright about it once before, and he put me off, saying folks talk too much anyway, and all he asked was peace and quiet. I guess you know about how much he talked himself, but I thought maybe if I went to the house and talked about it before his wife, though I said to Harry that I didn't know as what his wife wanted made much different to John.
Let's talk about it later, Mr. Hale. I don't want to talk about that, but tell now just what happened when you got to the house.
Actually, I didn't hear or see anything. I knocked at the door, and still it was all quiet inside. I knew they must be up. It was past 8 o'clock, so I knocked again, and I thought I heard somebody say, "Come in," but I wasn't sure. I'm not sure yet, but I opened the door, this door, and there, in that rocker. And then there is that Miss Wright, and then they all looked at the rocker.
What was he doing?
She was rocking back and forth. She had her apron in her hand and was kind of splitting it.
How did she look?
Well, actually, she looked like a queer.
How do you make queer?
Well, as if she didn't know what she was going to do next and kind of done up.
How did she seem to feel about your coming?
Why? I don't think she minded. One way or other, she didn't pay much attention. I said, "How do Miss Wright is school they need?" And she said, "Is it?" And went on kind of pleading at her apron. Well, I was surprised. She didn't ask me. She didn't ask me to come up to the stove or to sit down, but just sat there, not even looking at me. So I said, "I want to see John," and then she laughed. "I guess you would call says kinda do like, ain't he come?" Say I, "Yes." Say she, "He's home." Then why I can't see him? I asked her out of patience, "'Cause he's dead." Says she dead, says I. She just nodded her head. Not she just pointed upstairs like that. I got up with the idea of going up there. I walked from there to there. Then I say, "Why, what did he die for?" "He died of a rope round his neck," says she, and just went on pleading at her apron. Well, I went out and called Harry. I thought I might need help. We went upstairs, and there he was lying.
I think I'd rather have you go into that upstairs where you can find it all. Just go on now with the rest of the story.
Well, my first thought was to get that rope off. It looked, but Harry, he went up to him and he said, "No, he's dead all right, and we'd better not to touch anything." So we went back downstairs. She was still sitting the same way. "Has anybody been notified?" I asked. "No," says she unconcerned. "Who did this, Miss Wright?" said Harry. "He did it business like says she, weren't you sleeping in the bed with him?" says Harry. "Yes," says she, "but I was on the inside. Somebody slipped a rope around his neck and strangled him. And you didn't wake up?" Says for after a minute she said, "I slept sound." Harry was going to ask her more questions, but I said maybe we ought to let her tell the story first. to the coroner or the sheriff, so Harry went fast as he could to reverse place. But where's the telephone?
And what did Mrs. White do when she knew that you had gone for the coroner?
Actually, she moved from that chair to this one over here, to this one over here, and just sat there with her hands held together and looking down. I got a feeling that I ought to make some conversation, so I said I had come in to see if John wanted to put in on the telephone, and she started to laugh, and then she stopped and looked at me, scared. I don't know, maybe it wasn't scared. I wouldn't like to say it was. Soon Harry got back, and then Dr. Lloyd came, and you, Mr. Peters, and so I guess that's all. I know that you don't.
I guess we'll go upstairs first, and then up the bar and around there. You're convinced that there was nothing important here, nothing that would point to any motive.
Nothing here but kitchen things.
The courtney attorney, after again looking around the kitchen, opens the door of a cupboard closet. He gets up on a chair and looks on a shelf, put his hands away, sticky.
Yes, a nice mess.
The woman drew nearer.
Oh, her fruit. It did freeze. She worried about that when it turned so cold. She said the fire go out and her jars would break.
Well, can you beat the woman held for murder and worrying about her preserve?
I guess before we're through, she may have something more serious than preserves to worry about.
Well, women are used to worrying over trifles. The two women move a little closer together.
And yet, for all their worries, what would we do without ladies? Dirty towels. Not much of housekeeper. Would you say, ladies?
There's a great deal of work to be done on a farm.
To be sure. And yet, I know there are some Dixon County farmhouses which do not have such roll towels.
Those towels get dirty awful quick. Men's hands aren't always as clean as they might be.
Ah, loyal to your sex, I see. But you and Mrs. White were neighbors. I suppose you were friends too.
I've not seen much of her of late years. I've not been in this house. It's more than a year, I think.
And why was that? You didn't like her?
No, I like her all well enough. Farmers' wives have their hands full, Mr. Henderson. And then
Yes?
it never seemed a very cheerful place.
No, it's not cheerful. I shouldn't say she had the homemaking instinct.
Well, I don't know, as a raghead either.
You mean that they didn't get on very well?
No, I don't mean anything, but I don't think a place be any cheerfuler for John Wright being in it.
I'd like to talk more of that a little later. I want to get the lay of things upstairs now.
The woman listened to the man's steps on the chair on the stairs, then looked about the kitchen.
I'd hate to have men coming into my kitchen, snooping around and criticizing.
She arranged the pans under sink, which the lawyer had shoved out of place.
Of course, it's no more than their duty.
Dude is all right, but I guess that the sheriff that came out to make the fire might have got a little of his own. Wish I thought of that sooner. Seems mean to talk about her for not having things looked up and she had to come away in such a hurry.
She had bread set.
She was going to put in there. It's a shame about her quilt. I wonder if it's all gone. I think there's some here that's all right, Miss Peter. Yes, here. This is Cherry's too. I declare I believe that's the only one. She'll feel awfully bad after all her hard work in the hot weather. I remember the afternoon I put up my cherries last summer.
She puts the bottle on the big kitchen table, center of the room, with a sigh. Is about to sit down in the rocking chair. Before she is seated, realizes what chair it is. We get a slow look at it, steps back. The chair which she has touched rocks back and forth.
Well, I must get those things from the front room closet. You coming with me, Mrs. Hale? You could help me carry them.
They go in the other room, reappear, Miss Peters, carrying a dress and skirt, Miss Hale following with a pair of shoes.
My, it's cold in there.
She puts the clothes on the big table and hurries to the stove.
Rick was close. I think maybe that's why she kept so much to herself. She didn't even belong to the ladies' aid. I suppose she felt she couldn't do her part. And then you don't enjoy things when you feel shabby. She used to wear pretty clothes and be lively when she was Minnie Foster, one of town girls singing in the choir. But that was 30 years ago. This all you was to take in?
She said she wanted an apron. Funny thing to want. For there isn't much to get you dirty in jail. Goodness no. Goodness no. But I suppose just to make her feel more natural. She said they were in the top drawer in this cupboard. Yes, here. And then her little shawl that always hung behind the door. Yes, here it is.
Quickly shuts door, leading upstairs.
Miss Peters,
Yes, Mrs. L?
do you think she did it?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I don't think she did. Asking for an apron and her little shawl, worrying about her fruit.
Mr. Peters says it looks bad for her. Mr. Anderson is awful sarcastic in a speech and he'll make fun of her, saying she didn't wake up.
I guess John Rex didn't wake when they were slipping that rope under his neck.
No, it's strange. It must have been done awful crafty, and still, they say it was such a funny way to kill a man,
That's
ringing it
just
all up like that.
that's just what Mr. Hale says. There was a gun in the house. He says that's what he can understand.
Mr. Henderson said, coming out that what that was needed for the case was a motive, something to show anger or sudden feeling.
Well, I don't see any signs of anger around here. It's whipped to here. Wonder how they are finding things upstairs. I hope she had a little more red up there, you know? It seems kind of sneaking, locking her up in town and then coming out here and trying to get her own house to turn against her.
But Mrs. L, the law is the law.
I suppose this better loosen up your things, Miss Peter. You won't feel them when you go out.
Miss Peters takes off her fur tipped, goes to hang it on hook at back of a room, stands looking at under part of the small corner table.
She was piecing a guilt.
She brings the large sewing basket and they look at the bright pieces.
It's a log cabin pattern. Pretty, isn't it? I wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
Footsteps have been heard coming down the stair. The sheriff enters, followed by Hale and the county attorney.
I wonder if she was going to quote it or just nod it.
The man laughed. The woman looked abashed.
Transpire didn't do much up there, did it? Well, let's go out to the barn and get that cleaned up.
I don't know if there is anything so strange. Our taking up our time with little things while we're waiting for them to get the evidence. I don't see as it's anything to laugh about.
Of course, they've got awful important things on their minds.
Pulls up a chair and joins Miss Hale at the table.
Miss Peter, look at this one. Here. This is the one she was working on. And look at the sewing. All the rest of it has been so nice and even. And look at this. It's all over the place. Why, it looked as if she didn't know what she was about.
After she has said this, they look at each other, then start to glance back at the door. After an instant, Miss Hale has pulled at a knot and read the sewing.
Oh, what are you doing, Mrs. L?
Just pulling out a stitch or two that's not sewed very good. Bad sewing always made me fidgety.
I don't think we ought to touch things.
I'll just finish up this and Miss Peter,
Yes, Mrs. L?
what do you suppose she was so nervous about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. She was nervous. I sometimes so awful queer when I'm just tired. Well, I must get these things wrapped up. They may be through sooner than we think. I wonder where I can find a piece of paper and string.
In a cupboard, maybe?
Why? Here's a bird cage. Did she have a bird, Mrs. L?
Why, I don't know whether she did or not. I've not been here for so long. There was a man around last year selling kangaroos cheap, but I don't know if she took one. Maybe she did, maybe she don't. I don't know. She used to sing real pretty herself.
Seems funny to think of a bird here, but she must have had one. Or why would she have a cage? I wonder what happened to it.
I suppose maybe the cat got it.
No, she didn't have a cat. She got that feeling some people have about a cat, being afraid of them. My cat got in her room, and she was real upset and asked me to take it out.
My sister Bessie was like that. Queer, ain't it?
Why? Look at this door. It's broke. One one hinge is pulled apart.
Look as if someone must have been robbed with it.
Why? Yes.
She brings the cage forward and puts it on the table.
I wish if they're going to find any evidence, they'd be about it. I don't like this place.
But I'm awful glad you came with me, Mrs. L. It would be the lonesome for me sitting here alone.
It would, wouldn't it? But I tell you but I tell you what I do with Miss Peter. I wish I had some come over sometime when she was here. I really wish I had.
But of course you were awful busy, Mrs. L. Your house and your children.
I could have come. I still wait because it burned cheerful, and that's why I ought to have come. I, I've never liked this place. Maybe because it's down in a hollow and you don't see the road. I don't know what it is, but it's a lonesome place and always was. I wish I had come over to see Minnie Foster sometime. I can see now.
Well, you mustn't reproach yourself, Mrs. L. Somehow we just don't see how it is with other folks until Something comes up.
Not having children makes less work. It makes a quiet house, and Rex out to work all day, and no company when he did come in. Did you know John Wright is Peter?
Not to know him. I've seen him in town. They say he was a good man.
Yes, good, but he didn't drink and kept his word as well as most. I guess and paid his, but he was a hard man, Miss Peter. Just to pass the time of day with him, like a raw wind that's get to the home. I should think she would want a bird, but what do you suppose went with it?
I don't know. Unless it got sick and died.
She reaches over and swings the broken door, swings it again, but both women watch it.
You weren't raised around here, were you? You didn't know her?
Not till they brought her yesterday.
She, come to think of it, she was kind of like a bird herself, real sweet and pretty, but kind of timid and fluttery. How she did change. Tell you what, Miss Peter, why don't you take the quilt in with you? It might take up her mind.
Why? I think that's a real nice idea, Mrs. L. There couldn't possibly be any objection to it, could there? Now, just what would I take? What would I take? I wonder if her patches are in here and her things.
They look in the sewing basket.
Here's some red. I expect this has got sewing things in it. What a pretty box. Looks like something somebody would give you. Maybe her scissors are in here. Why? There's something wrapped in this piece of silk.
Why? This isn't her scissors.
Oh, Miss Peter, it's.
Miss Peters bends closer.
It's the bird.
But Miss Peter, look at it. Its neck. Look at its neck. It's all other side too.
Somebody wrung its neck.
Their eyes meet, a look of growing comprehension of horror. Steps are heard outside. Miss Hale slips box under quilt pieces and sinks into her chair. Enter sheriff and county attorney. Miss Peters rises.
Well, ladies, have you decided whether she was going to kill it or not it?
We think she was going to nod it.
Well, that's interesting, Michelle. Has the bird flown?
With saying the cat got it.
Is that okay?
Well, not now. They're superstitious, you know. They live.
Was I know of anyone having companions their own rope? Now let's go up again and go over it piece by piece. It will be have to have been someone who just
Miss Peters sits down. The two women sit there, not looking back at one another, but as if peering into something, at the same time holding back. When they talk now, it is in the manner of feeling, their way over strange around, as if afraid of what they are saying, but as if they cannot help saying it.
She liked the bird. She was going to put it in that pretty box.
When I was a girl, my kitten, there was a boy took a hatchet, and before my eyes, and before I could get there, if they hadn't held me back, I would have hurt him.
I wonder how it would seem never to have had any children around. No, Rex wouldn't like that bird, a thing that sang. She used to sing. He killed that too.
We don't know who killed the bird.
I knew John right.
It was an awful thing was done in this house that night, Mrs. L. He killed the man while he slept, slipping a rope around his neck that choked the life out of him.
His neck choked the like choked the life out of him.
Her hands goes out and rests on the bird cage.
We don't know who killed him. We don't know.
If there had been a years and years of nothing, then a bird to sing to you, it would be awful. Still, after the bird was still,
I know what stillness is. When we homesteaded in Dakota, and my first baby died after he was 2 years old, and me with no other than
how soon do you suppose they'll be through? Looking for the evidence?
I know what stillness is. I know what stillness is. The law has got to punish crime, Mrs. L.
I wish you seen Minnie Foster when she wore a white dress with blue ribbon and stood up there in the chair and sang. Oh, I wish I'd come over here once in a while. That was a crime. That was a crime. Who's going to punish that?
Mustn't take on.
I might have known she needed help. I know how things can be for women. I tell you, it's queer, Miss Peter. We live close together and we live far apart. We all go through the same thing. It's all just a different kind of the same thing. If I was you, I wouldn't tell her food was on. Tell her it ain't. Tell her it's all right. Take this in to prove it to her. She she may never know whether it was broke or not.
My, it's a good thing the man couldn't hear us. Wouldn't they just laugh, getting all stirred up over a little thing like a dead canary, as if that could have anything to do with wouldn't they laugh?
The men are heard coming downstairs.
Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. Who know?
No, Peters. It's all perfectly clear, except a reason for doing it. But you know, yours when it comes to women. If there was something definite thing, something to show, something to make a story about, a thing that would connect up with this strange way of being.
The woman's eyes meet for an instant, enter Hill from out the door. Well, I've got the team around. Pretty cold out there.
I'm going to stay here while by myself. You can send them out for me, can you? I want to go over everything. I'm not satisfied that we can do it.
Do you want to see what Mr. Peter is going to take in?
The lawyer goes to the table, picks up the apron, laughs.
Guess there are very dangerous things the ladies have picked out. No, Mrs. Peters doesn't need supervising. For that matter, sheriff's wife is married to the law. Ever think of it that way, Miss Peters?
No, just that way.
Married to the law. I just want you to come in here a minute, George. We ought to take a look at this window.
Oh, windows.
We'll be right out, Mr. Hill.
Hill goes outside. The sheriff follows the county attorney into the other room. Then Miss Hale rises, hands tied together, looking intensely at Miss Peters, whose eyes make a slow turn, finally meeting Miss Hale's. A moment Miss Hale holds her, then her own eyes point the way to where the box is concealed. Suddenly, Miss Peters throws back quilt pieces and tries to put the box in the bag she is wearing. It is too big. She opens box. She started to take the bird out, cannot touch it, goes to pieces, stands there helpless, sounds of a knob turning in the other room. Miss Hill snatches the box and puts it in the pocket of her big coat. Enter county attorney and sheriff.
Well, Henry, at least we found out that she was not going to kill it. She was going to, what is it? You call it, ladies?
We call it. Noted, Mr. Henderson.
The Trifles has end. The man leaves the room momentarily and Miss Peters tries to hide the box with the dead bird in her too small bag and then Miss Hill conceals it in her pocket. The attorney returns and jokingly acknowledges that at least they found out Minnie wasn't going to finish her quilt by quitting it. He appeals to the ladies for the correct term for she was going to finish it. She was going to knot it, Miss Hill says, with her hands over her pockets. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, since we have reached at the end of the dramas, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well as we are, and then we would like to apologize if there are some mistakes that you might find out upon the filming, and we would like to say thank you and don't forget to stay healthy. Goodbye.
Bye.